Welcome, everyone, to It Tastes Different Gaming Appetizers. And tonight, do you live in China? Do you like Blizzard games? Well, unfortunately, you got to get uncozy with the Blizzard games because NetEase and Blizzard developer has basically not come to terms to renew the relationship they have. And coming in January of 2023, all Blizzard games, except for Diablo Immortal, will cease to operate in China. So Ybarra said every few years they review agreements between the two partners, and they've been working through this process this year, but they have not been able to align their commitment to their players between them. So employees between their players, employees, and operating principles. The company NetEase plans to, or Blizzard plans to suspend new sales in China in the coming days and will notify Chinese gamers about next steps. It's sad news. I cannot believe this was probably taken with any grain of salt because China is even with their limited amount of playtime, they are a very large market in the gaming sphere. So even with their limited time for children to play games, it seems to be a weird move for Blizzard. Kotaku had an article that basically came out and said somebody, NetEase claimed somebody at Blizzard was being jerks and other things like this. I mean, basically, this has been a 14-year-old agreement. It's been an agreement between the two for a long time. And if you don't know who NetEase is, they are basically the facilitator for pretty much all games in China. So if you want your game to be available in China, you need to go through NetEase because they got to put in their controls and be able to do what they need to do and investigate things. So it's weird. So, but NetEase is saying that there's a jerk in Blizzard is the reason for this. So who knows what that is? The Kotaku article basically says that they have no clue who that person was. They reached out for statements and didn't get anything. But yeah, so coming on January 23rd, 2023, this agreement ceases to exist. So bye-bye to all those games. That's, Overwatch, Diablo, outside of Immortals, World of Warcraft, StarCraft, Hearthstone, and Heroes of the Storm, etc. This is also going to affect esports. I mean, China's got a lot of esports stuff going on, so that's going to hurt there in every aspect. So I don't know what Blizzard is thinking. And I kind of wonder how this is going to play into, the whole Microsoft trying to buy them. I mean, this is only going to hurt their stock. From what I read, NetEase's stock dropped 15%. That's percent, people. NetEase, their stock dropped 15% at the breaking of this news. So, oh man, I kind of feel bad for some of these people because, I mean, I don't play WoW. I don't play any of this stuff anymore. But when I played WoW, I pumped money into it. I played monthly subscription. Imagine putting all this time and effort in there just to basically be cut off because an agreement can't be made between the two companies. I don't necessarily agree with how China handles gaming, but that's not for me to say. I don't live there and I don't have a skin in that game, but I think it's a bad way they deal with it. But I don't know how much one jerk in a company can really cause the downfall of a 14-year agreement. So I don't know. What do you think about this, Shane? What do you think about the whole NetEase and Blizzard disagreement and the removal of their games from China?
Well, one, don't underestimate a good jerk. A good jerk could pretty much screw everything up for everybody. Two, like you said, they don't get much gameplay time, but that is a billion plus people. I mean, it's a lot of people they're going to lose out on. But the good thing is it's China, so they'll have their own knockoffs, it's from a company called Snowblow, and they'll make Diablo, BLOW, and Overclock for Overwatch. So they'll have all sorts of knockoffs on this. So I'm not worried about it. It's a crap thing, though. It's, the government basically runs everything. And they don't like games anyways. So, this guy is probably pro-government and like, you know what? They're not doing what we want. So screw them. and screw everybody that, paid all that money for those games like WoW and all that stuff. It's a crap thing. It's a crap situation. I don't know if I would say it was one jerk, because that jerk would have to be way high up on that totem pole to be able to cost probably billions of dollars. And
they told them they had to take pandas out of WoW again. That's probably what it was.
Oh man, even the Kung Fu one. All right, dad jokes aside, it just goes to show you that bad decisions can be made by dumb people in bad positions. I think this will change personally. I think this will be a financial hit to a lot of people, and there's going to end up being compromise later on down the road. Now, whoever, decides to compromise first, I don't know. I mean, Microsoft trying to buy them, they may want to compromise, because they want that market. I mean, that's a big hit to this merger. I mean, they have XYZ figured out, but somebody's taken X out of the equation. That could change things. I don't know. But the reasoning why, I wish somebody would tell us. But I mean, I could speculate a million reasons. I could speculate that it's a pro Sony fanboy who didn't want it, and they, didn't want the merger, so he's trying to, sabotage it. I don't know. I could make up crap. But what about you, Nick? What do you think?
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't know. The one jerk might have said, "Don't they all have phones?" And maybe that was it. They can play Diablo Immortal, and that's all. I think that, I think here probably in the few months or so, or maybe the beginning of the next year, you'll probably see them come to some sort of agreement. I don't think Activision Blizzard can miss out on that market, even if a deal can't be put together that both sides agree on. Someone, like Shane said, someone's going to have to compromise somewhere. I think, along with Activision Blizzard, even NetEase probably benefits from the deal. And I'm sure it's hurting both companies in that regard. So I could see them coming back to the table, maybe once everything dies down, steam kind of, goes out and everything like that, they'll come back to the table, and you'll probably see that deal as some sort of deal between the two come together within the next year, sometime next year, I would imagine. Right. I don't think they would be able to go without that market, because it is, I'm sure, like Pat was saying with the esports, especially, that's got to be, Activision Blizzard has all the Call of Duties and Overwatch and stuff like that, which are probably pretty big, or definitely pretty big in the esports arena. Right. So, and I think even like Hearthstone, right? And I don't know if people still esports Hearthstone or play that religiously, but it's still doing good. So, they can't go without that market. And for those people, yeah, it sucks for those gamers over there that have put a lot into, Diablo, not Mortal, but the other Diablo games, or, WoW or anything like that. Anything that has an online service. Now, like, I don't know, is Diablo 3, can you play that offline? I think you have to be connected, don't you, to the internet?
I think there may be an offline mode, but
yeah.
No, I think you have to have the launcher installed, right? So
right. I mean, they're discontinuing sales, so those individuals that have it should still be able to play it, right?
Nope. It's being deactivated. NetEase publishes it, so they're deactivating. You can no longer play it. So
well, that just sucks. I mean, all those players' time and money is just wasted on the fact that these two companies can't come to some sort of agreement with each other. And it really, who gives a crap about the companies? But, really it comes down to the players, right? The players are the ones who lose out on this. The company maybe loses out on a million or $1 billion deal, but, they have hundreds of $1 billion sitting aside going, man, that was going to add another $1 billion to that. Whereas the gamer at home is like, oh, I, poured all my blood, sweat, and tears into WoW or Diablo or StarCraft or whatever, and Overwatch or whatever, Call of Duty. And now I'm not going to be able to play it, unless VPNs or private servers, things like that. Gamers and people, hackers, and various things online will find some way to get around these things and be able to play these games still within some sort of private or on a private server type of settings or something like that. People are pretty crafty in that way, but I'm sure NetEase and Activision Blizzard are not going to keep this up for too long, right? I would assume that at some point they would come to some sort of agreement, or I don't know if there's another studio, maybe Tencent or something.
That's what I was getting ready to say. I bet Tencent could pick them up and start publishing for them, because I think that they had something like this similar back in the past. And I was trying to look into it, and A9 Studios kept coming up where they had temporarily published stuff for Blizzard. So that could be what's happening, right? Blizzard could have some backdoor deal working with Tencent, and they're just like, you know what? I think we're going to have better luck with Tencent rather than NetEase. And so they got this background, contracting negotiations thing going on, and it'll just flip-flop between the two.
That would make more sense, because I would doubt Blizzard would just let it go, right? If they didn't have something in their back pocket, because that is a huge market to just say, goodbye, Felicia, too, right? So they've got to have some other deal or something else going on. Yeah, Tencent, if they don't get back with NetEase, like at the beginning of the next year, I wouldn't be surprised if we don't see some sort of partnership with Tencent or whatever other type of publishing arm China has that does something similar to NetEase and Tencent, right? Those are the two biggest ones that I know of, but I'm sure there's some other ones out there. But yeah, what do you think, Pat?
Yeah, I almost thinking, they're probably doing some backroom deal with another publisher, right? Because I was trying to read up, like I said earlier, and I read somewhere back in like 2008, something similar happened. And they worked temporarily with a distributor called The Nine, what they were called, until they got their partnership with NetEase later on that year. So, they just got to get another publisher. And I, to be honest with you, I'm not too familiar with how all the governance works in China with video games. So, for the way it kind of seems is that NetEase controls all of it, like access to, servers and stuff like that. Reading through a lot of these articles, I got questions like, what about their other games? What about the Activision titles? Activision Blizzard is one company. So what happens to like Call of Duty, Warzone, that kind of stuff, where does that stuff come into this? Because they're not mentioned in any of these articles, like, the Call of Duty series or anything like that. And from what I understand, the Call of Duty series isn't banned in China. I know they banned like Cold War a long time ago or whatever, but I thought that a lot of the Activision games were still sold over there. But I don't know for sure. So what about the Modern Warfares and Call of Duty, just the Call of Duty series in general? Are those going to cease to be sold over there? I
would assume so, since it's one company, but maybe not.
I think, are they published already by Tencent, And that's what I was trying to find before we got on here was who publishes. So it looks like Tencent publishes those games, distributes those games. So those aren't going to be affected because they're already being. So I wonder if they're kind of working something out where they're going to go with a different publisher, or if they're going to move everything over to Tencent. Tencent gave them a big, nice fat deal. And they're like, all right, yeah, let's do this. Let's publish over there. So I don't know. It's interesting. I do not know what they're going to do, but I hope they don't lose the games, because they are a larger market than we are in the U.S. for gaming. China, I think they estimate there's 666 million gamers over there, which is like way bigger than our population over here. So, they're a very large gaming market, and now they put so much restrictions in place and are losing things. I look for the U.S. to probably overtake them in the gaming market in upcoming years. Not something that, seems like it's a good thing to be known for. Number one in gaming, guys, and not because we win. It's because we have more players and more revenue being spent and things like that. So I don't know. I'm kind of torn. Blizzard is going to do what Blizzard does to make their own money. Maybe they have a backroom deal going on that will just pop up right last minute. We'll hear them announce in January, 10 cent saved the day when NetEase wouldn't help, or something, and everything's going to 10 cent now. So who knows? Time will tell if it really will end. I doubt Blizzard is foolish enough to make this big of a faux pas, but I could be wrong. There could really be a jerk in Activision Blizzard that's sabotaging it all, or who knows what this jerk did. Maybe they said something completely insensitive, being that kind of insensitive jerk that they're basically saying, we don't want to work with your kind, or something stupid. Hopefully it wasn't something like that, but you never know in corporate world. People think they're too big to, do anything. They think they're too big to fail, too big to adhere to a social norms or social niceties, and who knows?
It makes me wonder. Oh, go ahead, Shane.
Sorry, what it is? Did a little research. That's where Don Matrick went to work. He's the jerk. Look it up, people.
There you go. It makes me curious as well. Like, if you buy, Call of Duty is, like you said, published by Tencent. But if you buy Call of Duty through the launcher, that's through the Blizzard launcher. Will the launcher itself be accessible after this ends?
I don't think that they have the launcher over there.
Oh, okay. They don't.
Because remember, China controls time and access to everything. So I think that by publishing over there and stuff like that, you have to use like the NetEase or the
like their own launcher,
the 10-cent launcher.
Like
yeah,
I got you. Okay.
Yeah, so I'm pretty sure they don't have. I don't think so, or maybe they do, but it's directs to like NetEase servers or something. So the only way to get around that is by doing a VPN or something.
Gotcha. That's just ridiculous. Let people play a game if they want to play a game.
Well, Pat's probably right. I'm surprised. I'm really surprised that Activision and Blizzard work so what seems like independently from one another, right? Because I assumed, and it was under the assumption that I think a lot of people probably are under the same assumption that basically it's Activision, but they call it, they kind of merged and it's Activision Blizzard, but mainly Activision calls the shots, right? And so I would assume that even Blizzard would be under Tencent Publishing as well as Activision. And it's surprising to learn that for Activision titles, it's Tencent, and for Blizzard, it's NetEase, where Blizzard makes its own agreements, right? With contracts and agreements with overseas and various publishers and stuff like that. So it's very interesting. But I wouldn't be surprised if you're right, Pat, where Tencent probably came in, gave them a deal, and they wanted to keep with NetEase because, right, it's easier to stay with where you're at than to have to move everything over to a new publishing arm. But NetEase didn't want to reach what Tencent was saying they basically could give, and so therefore an agreement couldn't be met, right, in the same sense. So that would make sense. Of course, we don't know. This is all speculation from us, but that sounds like the most logical thing. Was exactly right. I mean, I don't think Blizzard could fumble it that bad and be like, well, we don't have a backup, we're screwed, right? I mean, that would be a horrible business decision, right? I mean, it's like, who's running the place, right? If you're doing crap like that.
Yeah, and according to Blizzard, and I don't know how much of this, I mean, it has to be true, but according to Blizzard, the Chinese market only attains for 3% of their revenue. So it doesn't seem like a lot for as big as they are. No, I would have thought it would have been much larger, but like I said.
But they're so limited. I mean, that's probably hurting it. That's why they're only.
Well, even though you're limited, you still have to pay a monthly subscription or whatever. I guess you don't have to pay any subscription to play most of the stuff. But like if you're playing WoW, I don't think WoW's free to play yet. I haven't played it in years, so forgive me if I'm incorrect, but I don't think it's free to play. So if you're playing that or whatever, people still play that. All the other ones are free, but you can buy skins and things like that. So.
I mean, WoW just came out with, or they're coming out with a new expansion here soon. So,
yep. So there you go. I mean, hopefully Blizzard has a backup plan for those Chinese players and they don't get to miss out on any of these games. Especially because I do think that the Chinese and Japanese market over there and stuff like that drives a lot of the esports more than it does over here, right? I mean, esports is really popular in that area, and it's going to affect their bottom line. Even if they're saying it only attributes to 3%, how much does it attribute to their esports industry? Their Overwatch and Hearthstone and all that stuff, and you're going to lose that those players, right? Because if they live over there and the services are suspended, they're not going to be able to play to practice, and the only way they can play to practice is to break the law, and that's really bad because they're running VPN so they can pretend they're in a different region or whatever. So, I don't know what to think. You guys got anything else you want to talk about before we end this one and old NetEase ends Blizzard over there?
Nope, I think I'm good.
All right. Well, let us know what you guys think about this whole ordeal. What do you think about Blizzard pulling out of China's deal with NetEase? Do you think they have a backup plan? How bad do you think this really is going to hurt them? Do you think Blizzard is lying to their investors and saying it's not going to have a huge effect when it really is? Let us know what you think, and give us some comments. Give us some feedback down below. We'd like to hear from everybody to see what they think, because maybe we're off base, maybe we're missing something here. I looked all over to try to find a little bit more details, but really what I found was Blizzard's calling this no big deal, but NetEase took a little bit of a hit. They're saying it's not going to hurt them in anything, but their stock took a hit, so it already hurt them. Let us know what you think down in the comments, and we've reached the end of this episode. If you aren't subscribed, go on, please subscribe for us. Help us out so we can keep making episodes every week. And we hope you enjoyed this episode. We hope to catch you in the next one.
See you.